Hi guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. Hope you guys are doing well today. So in this video I'd like to firstly apologise for not putting out any content recently. I've been in limbo with games a little bit, really struggling to kind of find what I want to play, and I've been just struggling to decide what I want to do as a whole. I'm also really sick at the moment with the flu and just all sorts going on, so it's not been great, but I've recently started playing ESO. And I wanted to let you guys know if it's worth trying at all. So we're going to go through the PvE, PvP, the gearing, the crafting and economy, the daily gameplay, the leveling, the payment model, and my overall review of the game. In this video, it's going to be quite a long video. I can only apologise for that. I will make it as short as possible. I will have some content in the background when a dungeon pops. God damn. I will have some some content in the background. So if you do want to see what's going on, there will be stuff there. Other than that, have it on in the background. It's a nice little podcast for you guys to listen to. So let's start with PvE. There are dungeons, open world, trials, and arenas. So we're going to go through and start with dungeons. The actual mechanics. There's actual mechanics in dungeons with difficult bosses in a lot of dungeons. And I don't just say that. I mean that I would say 50% of the dungeons I go into on Veteran, we wipe in. And I go in with pre-mades occasionally, I go in with decent people, I queue with people quite a lot, so there's quite a lot of dungeons where it's difficult content. Even on the easier difficulties, even on the normal difficulties, there are some bosses that are still difficult if you get the mechanics wrong. There's an optional hard mode as well on Veteran. All in all, it's actual difficult content that is fun. And that's the big thing, is that it's not just mindlessly beating yourself against a DPS check or RNG. It's skill-based mechanics, and that for me is something that I really, really enjoy. I have to say, I have really enjoyed just the content that this game has had so far in terms of PvE. I haven't even managed to experience it all yet. The open world has just random mobs open in the world. Obviously, we have solo dungeons, we have public dungeons, we have world bosses. So much content, again, open world, and there's rewards for doing different things in different zones as well. So there's like different sets that can drop, which are based on your build as a whole, might be needed. So you might have to go and do these public dungeons, these events and these world bosses and things like that, so that you can get these rewards. And I think that's, again, really cool. There's actual content open world. How many games, do you know that actually has rewardable end game gearing that requires you to be open world? It's all dungeons or raids or whatever. It's not just an open world, go kill a mob, go get your best in slot item. That's awesome. And different things can drop from different places. So you have to kind of go and have a look up and go, okay, so I want this. Where can I get this from? How do I get it? And whatever. And that for me is really cool. We then have the trials, which are effectively raids. I believe they are 12-man in this, either 8 or 12, depending on the raid. I haven't managed to experience them yet. From what I've been told, they are DPS checks, firstly, but they are DPS checks to the point of, can you play your class well and your build well, rather than just do the generic top DPS. It's, can you pull decent numbers for your class? If you can, then you're not going to have an issue. But they are very mechanically intensive as well, which is quite cool in itself. I like that. We then have the arenas, which there's two. So there's two PvE arenas. There's Maelstrom and there's Dragonstar. So Maelstrom is a solo progression arena. And what I mean by that is there's multiple levels with rounds of mobs and bosses at the end of each round, of each floor, with multiple floors. With the end, like the reward for it being incredible on the veteran difficulty. The normal one is kind of the experience of doing it, and it's still difficult, don't get me wrong. I couldn't finish this when I first got to like max level. I consider myself to be a decent MMO player. I couldn't finish it even remotely on normal. I got quite far, but I definitely didn't get all the way, and I went in there yesterday on normal, did kind of ruffle through a lot of the floors, but again, some things still gave me issues. So it's not just easy because it's on the lower difficulty. So the veteran is actually difficult. There are a lot of guides and stuff for helping people do it, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not a face roll. And the rewards for it are definitely worth it as well. Dragon Star is the similar mentality, however it is just grouped. It is 4-player. Which, again, there's a lot more mechanics because there's 4 players, there's a lot more DPS checks and things like that. You have to play it well to actually be able to recover it and to actually be able to complete it, and that in itself is quite cool. So overall, PvE has been very interesting. I normally am a PvP kind of guy with maybe Mythic Pluses, if that was something. Like, obviously, WoW, but for me, I've really enjoyed all the PvE content I've had so far in this game. Let's talk about PvP. Cyrodiil. Cyrodiil is the realm versus realm versus realm open world PvP. It's the bee's knees, all the good stuff. Now, there is a PvE area in the center. There are PvE areas sort of put all around the map as well. It's fun siege combat with, like, anyone who's played Dark Age or seen Dark Age gameplay back in the day, that's what it is. It's the nostalgia comes back so hard of Dark Age of Camelot, which is just awesome, honestly. Trying Cyrodiil is 100% a must experience. When you see a faction, an entire faction turtling in one keep just to try and defend it, you see another faction trying to siege the keep to take it from them. They're breaking down the walls. They're trying to climb in the walls. They're just all this good stuff. And then you see another faction come from behind and just sweep all of the middle faction up, take on the siege of themselves, and you have this kind of unexpected fight that can just come out of anywhere at any time. It's incredible. It really is incredibly fun, and you're always outnumbered, which is kind of cool, honestly. BGs, there's multiple game modes, offers different advantages for different builds. So you have like Chaos Ball, which is hold the flag. You have Capture Relic, which is capture the flag. You have Domination, which is point capture. You have Deathmatch, which is a pure just kill people. And different builds will be able to do different things. My build originally was amazing for Chaos Ball, where I could just hold a flag and be tanky. But now I'm very, very squishy, and if I pick up that flag, I'm going to die in 3 seconds. And that's not what I want. So again, it makes it hard to be a master of all, which means you need multiple builds on your team, which is cool. You have the Alliance Wars, which I've not heard or experienced too much of. I know they are a mechanic in the game. I didn't want to leave them out, but it's not something that I've had the pleasure of doing yet. Let's talk about gearing. Now, sets vary from source. So what I mean by that is PvP has access to around 5 sets, I believe. PvE has 3 sets per dungeon at least. Yep, I did say that. 3 different sets per dungeon, all with different stats and different gear on, and different set pieces and things. This is like a Diablo player's wet dream, really. Crafting has access to many sets, including some of the best currently for PvE and PvP. What does this mean? It means that crafting's actually worth it and worth investing time into, but because they're tradable, you're not going to get punished for not having crafting. You can still get these sets. The trials have some of the best sets for like a lot of builds. However, they're typically PvE focused, so you'll want, again, other sets for PvP. And just before people go, okay, yeah, but PvP drops PvP sets, PvE drops PvE sets, my best set for PvP that I personally have found, one of them comes from a dungeon, one of them is crafted. Like, my best sets require me to do other content in the game, and I think that's really cool. So, I mean, theory crafting, you can do all sorts. There's different traits as well in the game, so each armor piece has access to around 10 traits. Each jewelry piece has access to 3, I'm guessing. Weapons each have up to about 10 as well. And when I say traits, there's like training, which increases your XP gained. Impenetrable, which increases your crit resist. Reinforced, which increases your armor and resist values. There's all sorts, and you do need a little bit of all of it to get to the end game. Crafting and economy. Crafting, like I said, has access to many sets. Mandatory food and potions for top-end players. Cosmetic changes through motifs, i.e. if you craft something, you can craft it with different styles, which means it looks slightly different if you have them unlocked or found them, which again is quite cool, so you can make things look awesome. Always cool. The economy, there's multiple ways to make money, either grinding, gathering, crafting, selling. There's an in-game boosting service that people do, offered by people, typically involving a dungeon run with, it has super high density. You just go in, clear the run, come out, and people are charging 3 to 4k a run in a couple of minutes for this. It's not paid, which makes gold sellers a lot less valuable when it's a cheap amount of money to actually just get boosted anyway. And yeah, I mean, there's whatever you want to do in the game, there will be a way to make money with it, which is awesome. That's cool. Daily gameplay. So the dailies in this game, I know a lot of people worry about that with MMOs. What do I have to do every day to be viable? The dailies in this game consist of a daily BG and a daily dungeon. The daily BG gives you a lot of experience, typically 3 times the amount you would get for a normal BG win, and a guaranteed epic piece. The dungeon kind of does the same. So the PvP one will be a PvP epic piece. The dungeon will be a dungeon epic piece. And they'll be guaranteed to be epic, as well as obviously the lots of experience. You don't have to do them. If you have the sets that you want, you don't need to do them. You could just do them if you happen to go and want to do a BG and you get the win, you'll get the bonus. But the XP, not really mandatory after you hit level 50, because obviously you're already level 50. You do have to get to 160 CP, which we'll talk about in a minute, but again, doesn't take too long. So yeah, there's not too much. There are also pledges, which reward something called Undaunted Keys. Now, these are going to be something that are majorly important early on. However, you can pick the dailies up and do them at a later date. You just can't pick the next days up. So you kind of need to do them once every at least 2 days, which does give you a little bit of way to work around it, I guess. You don't have to just rush to get them done every day, and they require you to do. You can just do them on normal if you just want to get 1 key. You can run through them really quick. With good gear, you can probably just run through them solo, and you'll see what happens. The group's just there to kind of support you, I suppose. Which, again, it's kind of my play style. I'm just going to run through and do my own thing. You then have the leveling system in this game. So you have 1 to 50 leveling, which is done through multiple ways, including PvE grinds, PvP BGs, Cyrodiil dungeons, all good ways to level. The dungeons, kind of the slowest out of the 4 I mentioned there. Cyrodiil is the open world area. There's actually really efficient ways in there if you manage to get to them. The PvP BGs, if you are consistently winning or coming second, obviously BGs are actually 3-way, all 3 factions, which is awesome. Then you get huge rewards, actually competitive rewards as well. Every 15 minutes you could be getting equivalent to what you'd get doing the PvE grind. Now the PvE grind is probably the most efficient. It's mindless, and it really is mindless. You will get bored of it, but it is the most efficient if you do want to just rush through and just prioritize getting max level. Then that's the way to do it. Just sit down for an hour, use an XP pot, because there are XP pots in the game which do help leveling but doesn't do it immediately, and just knock yourself out. So all different ways to do it. Once you hit level 50, the leveling doesn't stop. You then have something called champion points, which allows access to this page right here. Each of these gives different items, different skill bonuses and things like that, which you definitely want. You want all of these. You want as many of these as you can. You can get currently 750 points. However, gear also changes depending on your CP, up to 160. 160 is currently the max for gear in this game, so that's quite a big milestone. After that, CP kind of drops off in how much it matters, but hey, you do what you need to do. But you will eventually get it, and you'll get better gear as you go through. Now, the payment model is buy to play with optional subscription, which seems to be where the MMO market as a whole is going. All the new MMOs seem to have that similar model, or a pay to win model, you know. Buy to play offers the game and the first expansion, and you can play the game then without ever paying another cent. And I genuinely mean it. I'm not just saying it for the sake of it. You can play the game without ever spending another dollar on the game, which is crazy, right? You wouldn't have access to any of the DLCs or the latest expansions, but you would still be able to play the game to level 50, play the game at a high level, do the trials that are available in the base game, do the BGs that are available in the base game, do the dungeons that are available in the base game. You get where I'm going with this. There's a lot of content that you can do as well. You can actually still buy crafted gear from people that have the DLCs and have managed to craft it, because a lot of the crafting is locked behind a DLC. Or not a lot of it, but like the later stuff is obviously locked behind a DLC, and there has been quite a few DLCs. So me personally, I've subbed and I will be staying subbed. I really enjoy it. You get 1,500 crowns a month. You get increased experience, increased gold, increased research. Interesting to say, with the increased XP, it's not something that you feel worthless without. Certain other games, Albion, is you don't ever want to play without premium in that game. It's mandatory at that point. It's not an optional subscription model. It's mandatory. Whereas this, it's only 10%. It's a nice upgrade, but it's not mandatory by any means, which is good. It's healthy. And then there's ESO, there's ESO Plus. It does also give you all DLCs in the game, not the expansions. There's two types of added content into this game. There are DLCs and expansions. You get the base game and the first expansion. The second expansion has just come out, which is Somerset. You don't get that added. However, as soon as DLC gets added, you do get that. So there's a new DLC coming out in a couple of weeks. You will get that added just immediately if you have ESO Plus, for as long as you have ESO Plus active as well. And what I mean by that is, if you let your subscription run out, you're no longer subbed. Even if you cancel it, but still subbed, you still obviously gain the advantage. If you let it drop completely, that's it. You lose access to the DLCs for while you're not subbed. So let's talk about my overall rating of the game. I love this game. I genuinely do. It's becoming my favourite MMO to date ever, which is a really huge statement. But I've played some of like EverQuest, Star Wars Galaxies, Dark Age, Camelot, Old School WoW, like Terra. I've played WildStar. I played Eve. I've played Albion. I've played all of these MMOs. This is becoming my favourite to date. It's had a rough start when it first launched, has turned the game around massively. I thought this was just a online Skyrim. It's not. It's its own game with its own life and soul. It's not just an extension of that. It's its own game, and that's just a part of the integrated lore, which is, again, cool. There's so much story and so much lore in this game if you do want to take advantage of it. I hope everybody gives it a try. It's so worth it. There's an offer on at the moment. Even if you only pick up the game in the base expansion or the first expansion, that for me is about £7.50 right now. I believe that's like $10. It's not expensive, and that's less than a takeaway. That's like one, maybe 2 nights meals, right? And you could get hundreds of hours out of just them, like that £7.50 or that $10 or that €9 or whatever you want to call it. You will get a lot of time and like money value out of just that. So guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Sorry this video has been so long. How long actually has it been? Less than 20 minutes. I'm impressed. Call me impressed that I haven't, 1, died of a coughing fit, 2, broke 20 minutes. So guys, hope you guys have enjoyed this. More content coming out on this channel. Tell me if you like this video, if you like the ESO stuff. If you do, there will certainly be more. But yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed. Catch you later.